New currency, ECO, to replace safer franc, I believe is called, but will remain pegged to the euro. So, Economic Community of West African States, okay, was their vision by 2020 for them to roll out a single currency, where the 15 countries will all use the ECO currency. Now, it's deeper because if you look into it, especially the French-speaking countries, whom kept half of their reserves in France, okay, people wanted to know what impact will that have on the French-speaking countries, and also how would it impact the whole region, ECOWAS region. Let me come to you first, Kofi, because I think we've spoken about this in the past, and countries like Nigeria were hesitant at first, and of course there were some criteria which countries had to meet before they could roll out the single currency. But now it looks as if it's happening. I've read other stories where Ghana looking to get involved as well. You're an ECOWAS citizens' rights advocate. Where do you stand on this?
First and foremost, the issue of the criteria, from the word go, people like myself are saying they are useless. The criteria are rubbish. What the criteria we're saying is that we should have, our certain reserve, we should have certain inflation, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
They will never happen. And the reason why we say they are rubbish is that in 1956, after the 45, when the CFA was introduced, what is the criteria at the time by which all of them spent the CFA? Right? When in 1985 or 86, Guinea and Guinea-Bissau decided to join the CFA, what criteria was used? Did they meet all those criteria? Of course not. Therefore, the criteria issue is not. What we were arguing on this issue of common currency, which now is showing itself that is going to be a problem, is that, you see, when you have a currency floated for people to use, they should be the controller of that currency.
Okay.
Now, that is missing because who is the owner of the currency? The ECOWAS.
Yeah.
You see, the introduction of the common currency is a good thing. We need it because across this country, the French-speaking countries, trading among them is a bit easy because they don't need to convert currency. But when you are going between the English-speaking country, Gambia spent Dalasi, Sierra Leone, Liberian dollar, Ghana, cedis, and Nigeria, Naira, you need to be converting. So it is difficult for us to even be able to evaluate economic activities across the sub-region without conversion. So if we all have 15 currency that we are using, it's great. Very, very great. Now, this is where France comes in. You see, the controller of a currency is also the controller of the economy. Like we started by saying when I came in initially. Money and what money buys are closely connected. So our benefit in these economic activities need to be regulated. That one country will not say they are closing their border or import then the other one because the other one is importing food from somewhere. Anytime you are importing abnormally into an economy, you are killing that economy. Because jobs are created somewhere else. And then you will need foreign exchange to be paying for what you are importing. And when you then have access, because we have now open market across the sub-region, then that thing you import, you are not importing it for yourself alone. You are spreading it. And that will mean indirectly all the other economies will be threatened to look for alternative. This is what France did very well when she was managing the CFA. The reserve they say they keep in France is that, certain proportion of your annual income, you understand, will be used to show up because the currency is printed in France.
Yes.
And France determine how much each of the economy will get according to their productivity. Right. So that reserve they were keeping is not just reserve, but you see, you have 20 or 40% of your annual income. You use it the way you want to use it. Then the remaining 60% kept in France is supposed to be, you cannot touch that money unless with the permission of France. There is no manager. This is why Nigeria is saying that we cannot risk going into this currency without control of the regional body. And the authority to control is sleeping. Now, this is the problem. France, through the European Union, is now stepping in to play that role. So Ghana, Sierra Leone, Liberia, with the exception of Nigeria, who can see the danger, is saying that we are not going there. So all these other ones, what is going to change is echo to safer to echo.
Yeah.
And then more countries will be added. So technically, if we are not controlled through the IMF and World Bank, we'll be controlled through the European Union.
Let's hear you, Julius.
From where I stand, I would talk about independence of every country. A currency is hallmark of countries' sovereignty.
Yeah.
And being that, that's why you come and find every currency tries to connect with the country's aspirations.
Yeah.
If you look at the US dollar, it talks about in God we trust, telling us that the connotation behind that is that America's ethos or values is a nation founded in believing God.
Yeah.
In God we trust appears on the dollar, US dollar. We talk about also when you see how the British values their pound, that's why they refuse to join the euro.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our country's currency is so powerful. That's what I'm saying. It's a hallmark of sovereignty. Now, for me, I'm so discouraged to even have known this country's currency was all the time controlled by our former colonial master, France. It's disheartening to know that these countries were given independence, but their currency was controlled by France. And that tells you one thing, which I support what Kofi says, that the person who controls the currency controls the economy.
Yeah.
A currency is such a powerful driver of an economy. So actually, when you're not controlling it, you're not in control. So for me, I can say it's a wake-up call. It's good news that ECHO is being thought about and the ditching of the CFA is happening. I'm happy to see France is kind of, okay, you can ditch the CFA.
Yeah.
But what I support, which is very important from Kofi, is that there has to be a proper regulatory mechanism to facilitate the implementation and the continuation of the ECHO. Without that, it may just start and just dissipate.
Kofi, coming back to what you said, of course, France have decided to abolish the countries, the French-speaking countries using SAFER, but then still pegging the ECHO to euros. Where is the freeness in this?
In fact, according to the information we had, the printing, that's the minting,
They'll be printing
in France.
France, yeah.
So it's technically nothing has changed. The only
Just the
thing is
name.
more countries have added and the name has changed. We are aware of that. And let us be a bit wary when we talk about this great nation, United Kingdom. Britain is not a country. It's a union of 4 countries, for God's sake. We live here. Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, and England. Yeah, so if they choose not to be in the European Union, we had the Scottish are saying they want to actually go and spend the euro. Right. So it then brings the concept of sovereignty and currency. It brings it into question. Can you see? Remember, France is a sovereign nation. If you want to talk about sovereignty, all the 27 countries of the European Union are sovereign, yet they spend one common currency controlled by the European Union. Therefore, the sovereignty has moved there. Sovereignty, like independence, you get it for a purpose. You don't just get it for the sake of it. Which country on the continent of Africa is sovereign? This is where the Berlin Conference discussion that we mentioned earlier come back to our table. All we are trying to do with this ECOWAS and ECHO is to redefine our destiny.
But Kofi, you're asking which country is sovereign?
Well, the countries created in Berlin. Berlin Conference, we don't know history anymore.
Hold on. If you're saying which country is sovereign, can you elaborate? Because as far as I'm concerned...
On the continent of Africa.
On the continent of
I'm
Africa.
writing a book on that.
Because as far as I'm aware, countries do make their own laws.
They make their
Hello.
own.
So,
Which law?
So which part?
Be
which
patient.
part of
Don't go
sovereignty?
too far. Don't go too far.
Yes.
If countries do make their own law, Libya made their own law. What happened to them? Hey, don't go too far. Cameroon, the Cameroon we are talking about,
yeah.
what law do they make there? France decide everything there. Everything there in that Cameroon. Right? They had, look, don't let us fool ourselves. Even Ghana.
But then you see, Julius, I've had discussions with Kofi on this. On the issue of trade, yes, it seems fine. You see the benefits.
Yeah.
But then it looks as if the regional bloc is moving towards of a more of a political state.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people have kicked up against. It's like the EU here. A lot of Brexit. People said we don't want a European army, a European this, and it looks as if this is where the ecowas states
is going. Yes,
is going.
Yes,
and that in itself is going to be a problem.
It's kind of tricky because there's no uniform way, or rather universal way to pursue this, and each country within ECOWAS is a country on its own.
Yeah,
none is the same. And that being the case also, you have different aspirations. But when you talk about at the level of ECOWAS leadership from ECOWAS, I think it's about time. Why is it important for these countries to either choose to go the ECO way or they come up with their own individual countries' currency? It's very important because then you'll be able to control your own currency, and that impacts on all the businesses. Let me use an example to illustrate. Not long ago, Kenya, all the banks under Kenya's central bank, the Central Bank of Kenya was able to put a cap on any interest rates that any bank gives a loan to any individual. They put that cap because why? They were on the side of the people. They were like, these banks are killing citizens because they give you so much, a very higher rate, and you are desperate for a loan. You take the money and that's it. So central bank, because of that independence, being able to control your currency within your country, the central bank comes in and says, from today, as an authority, Central Bank of Kenya has put a cap on all the banks. You cannot charge anyone beyond this interest rate beyond there. And it went on for like a year or something and all that. And it's brilliant. The ability to control your currency is important. You don't have to go the heck away. But you can go as an individual country, say, I'm Nigeria, I'm going to embrace a Naira. Or you go Ghana, you keep the CD. Or if it's Cameroon, they come up with their own if they don't have any. But to be controlled by your former colonial masters at the aspect of money, that's where the crashing.
Yeah, and that's the problem, isn't it, Kofi?
No.
You were all for it, but the fact that it looks as if France will be the one controlling
we
it.
We have a problem here. The deep sea. Or which one is the other one? You are between the deep sea and the devil. This is where we are now.
Between the rock and a hard place.
The good. You see, already our economies of West Africa, we are at the mercy of IMF. We are here. Go and look at our debt. Abnormal. You understand? Good. With the French-speaking countries, they have debt, but France managed that debt. Can you see? The English-speaking countries are on their knees. And you see, I don't know whether our geography or the little government, elementary government we did in school is not informing us. You see, when you go to United States of America, 300 million people, it's a huge economy. Huge economy. But when you go into United States, right, each state is managing themselves. The federal don't manage them. That's why when they say there is, what do they call that in standstill? In America, they have a way when the president couldn't have an understanding with the Congress it's federal activities stop. All the states are working. It's only the federal workers that are suffering. The federal is like ECOWAS authority or European Union overseeing. But within, each is doing their business, especially when it comes to dealing with powerful bloc like America. China, 1.6 billion people.
But do we need to have a federal state? Why can't we just be an economic bloc?
Be patient. You see, we have what we call, don't let me go too far on the concept of economic of scale. In this country, it's good to use this country. You have Tesco's, Asda, and you have off license in the corner shop. For God's sake, they are all doing business. They are all doing business. When you enter Tesco, you stand there and say, yes, anybody who is here is playing with money. They make things. They can tell the producer, this is what we want, and they get off license. you one corner shop. In West Africa, the only thing we do is to go and look for who will take our cocoa and give us chop money. We are in trouble, serious trouble. So if Mr. Mbalutu sees sovereignty in terms of being proud to be a small tribal nation and be sitting in your quiet corner while the rest of the world is taking strides, that is fine.
We've seen Britain come out of the EU.
Oh, I say it's 4 countries. Is Ghana 4 countries? Scotland, they say they are going. Welsh, Northern Ireland, they say they are going. If they are not countries, they have their own prime minister.
Yeah.
All of them, they've got their parliament. In Ghana, we have another parliament than the one in Osu. We are saying, don't let us compare ourselves to the head of the empire. Britain is the head of the Commonwealth. What are we in the Commonwealth than the tail? If there's a tail in the Commonwealth, we are the tail. So we want to turn our destiny into people that matters in the world. When we're talking about cannabis, we're talking about youth and employment. I come from one of the highly deprived areas in Ghana. Right? But don't waste your time. Even Katamanto, you see Kayayo, a girl with a baby on the back, 14-year-old girl. She's supposed to be in school. She's avoiding car, and she has a load that is twice her own size.
Kofi,
we need to solve this problem.
We do, but it's not because we join the ECOWAS, we get together on a single currency. That's going to solve all these issues. That's not going to happen.
It will happen.
Why would it happen? Because even Britain, that was part of the EU.
You are going back to the same thing again. You've said it 3 times.
Okay.
Britain is leaving the EU because she has 2 billion people in the Commonwealth. India is under Britain. You are talking about superpower.
No.
We don't have nuclear weapons.
Listen, you spoke about the level of unemployment. Recently,
this country...
hold on, Kofi, let me finish. Recently, research came out that the poverty in Britain has increased. And this is a country part of the EU. So I come back to my point again.
They have left the EU now.
No, prior to that, they were part of the EU. So,
they have nuclear weapons to defend themselves.
Technically speaking, we're still part of the EU. So
they have
nuclear weapons.
So Kofi,
they have nuclear weapons. What do we have?
The point I'm making is this: because we joined the ECOWAS, doesn't mean all our issues are going to be solved.
Of course.
Let me come back to you, Julius. We've heard a lot of experts giving their advice on this particular story. Some are even saying, "Look, let's just concentrate on trading with one another before we even start talking about this single currency." Because now the biggest economy in that region, Nigeria, have put their brakes on. They're not sure. Why don't you try and sort out infrastructure, make sure goods and services move freely, and then in the near future, you can start looking at the single currency?
I come from East Africa, whereby in Africa, it was the very first regional coming together of different countries to do things together, trade and also introduction of free movement and all that. That is Kenya, East Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and currently South Sudan is part of East Africa community. So when you talk about EAC and its formation, we cannot say even right now it's a success because there's still teething problems, inter-country issues, inter-country fears. So, for example, the way Tanzanian perceive Kenyans, they are like, Kenyans are so quick, we don't want them to run us over. And brakes being put on towards the regional integration in different issues. But one successful things they have done, and is successful, was the introduction of free movement. And also, jointly, right now, if you want to visit one country in East Africa, don't bother to buy one tourism visa for one country. Buy what they call joint visa.
Okay.
You pay one price, and it gives you the right to visit 6 countries. Some of them are not far from each other. Some of them could be a bus ride to the other country, depending on where you are. That has been a success story. They are still working it. They are still trying to find out what can we do to make us trust each other, to keep trading together. And it's fantastic because when you look at what has been achieved by them coming together, it's far much more important than when each country was doing it in their own little corner. Like Kofi would say, calling it tribal, but it's a country. country with some 46 tribes. Others are like Tanzania with over 100 tribes. So that doesn't even arise. But the unity of nations to trade together is very important. We are talking about the current Africa Free Trade Area. Most of the African countries have signed for it, which is a good thing. But for us as Africans to trade together, number one, we have to learn to trust each other. Number two, we need to ask ourselves a very simple question. If Ghana can trust a foreign country like China, calling that country an investor, and trust goods to come from China to Ghana, why can't you trust goods from Tanzania, from Nigeria, from any other country? We need to trust each other as Africans.
Say thank you to Julius and also Kofi Ali, and to you for watching. Okay, make sure you continue to follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, social media, and share and comment as well. We're done for another day. We say Happy New Year to all our viewers and listeners as well. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back same place, same time next week. Do tune in. It's goodbye from us.